All right, we're going to play some football hopefully this week. Georgia and Mississippi State back in Athens for the first time since early October, and Kevin and Eric are with us, and it just seems kind of strange. We didn't play last week. We had a game postponed or canceled or whatever it is at this stage. Hopefully, it's going to be made up. But now we have Mississippi State coming to town. Georgia is back home. Guys, what are your just initial thoughts on playing a game back in Athens?
Yeah, it feels good to be back in Athens. It's been a long, hard season here so far with being on the road so many consecutive weeks in a row, and obviously some of the cancellations the cancellation that's taken place in some of the movement in the schedule. But I think it's needed for this football team right now, coming off a difficult loss against Florida. Things are reeling a little bit, just to get things back into some normalcy here. And no better place to do it than in the friendly confines of Sanford Stadium. So I'm excited to get back home. It's the best place that you can be on any fall Saturday, and I do think it's needed for this football team.
Yeah, I'm excited, Scott. I tell you, it's been a weird season to say the least. But last week, we had so many SEC games postponed. It was just a weird feeling. We did our brunch show on Sunday, and we ended up talking about the Masters more than the Bulldogs. So that was a first, and I hope it's a last. And I hope we have a lot to talk about this Sunday. But let's be honest, it's been like a beauty pageant, and they haven't called out the winner's name for 2 weeks, because I'm hoping to see something new on offense. I'm hoping to see one of the younger guys get a shot at quarterback. I think we're at that point. As I've said, I don't think Eric, myself, anybody that's played competitive sports, especially a team sport, doesn't understand that the next man up is not just on injuries. Sometimes it's on performance. And right now, we need to put that next man up and see what we have at quarterback, and let's start making sure that we're in position to do a much better job next year.
Well, we've had an extra week of preparation. Does that help the situation there to be able to see somebody else get more reps in practice? I know we hear the importance of practice, but we also hear the importance of performance in a game, because you don't get that real sense of contact of all of that in practice anymore, because they have to gear it back. So how much did the extra week off help, do you think, if we go in that direction with a different quarterback on Saturday?
Yeah, so I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll jump in. If you're competing for the job, the extra week helps, because it does allow for additional reps. It allows you to get, if you're in a standard week, you're not going to go pull first team reps away from the guy who's really locked in to start. In off weeks, or when you have additional time, you can fully open up that competition. So in competitive situations, I think the off week helps us. I think where the off week probably hurt us a little bit is just getting the taste of the loss against Florida out of our mouths. But we were so banged up, and there's so many positions that are opened up for competition, wide open competition, that if ever you want a time for an off week to come into play, it's really when we've had the 2 off weeks this year, because we had the truncated off season, because so many positions are up for grabs right now. So these off weeks, I think, play into our benefit. And I agree, if there's a time for somebody to step up and go take advantage of a situation, it's right now. And I'm interested to see how that's going to pan out, not just a quarterback, but at other positions as well.
Yeah, I think Eric's right on. The extra week off with not having a game, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm just from me being around the program, I'm pretty sure they went one-on-one last week near the end of the week pretty hard. Probably put quarterbacks and everybody else, as Eric said, in a very competitive position. You don't want to take another week off when you're postponed by the game. You can get better, and I know Georgia probably did that. I was expecting to see JT Daniels start last week. I think that's probably where they were at. Stetson's back in the game now. He's healthier. But I still believe that everybody supports Stetson, but everybody also understands that that's why we all practice. That's why we're all out there. So this team needs to have somebody come in and light a fire under the offense. I mean, I think the defense would be all in favor of that. And I think the fans would be in favor of that, and the coaching staff. They're looking for something different right now. I think this off week did exactly what Eric said. It gave them a chance to be competitive. And most importantly, probably, is try to get a little healthier. We were beat up, and I don't think Kirby's going to let them, and neither do I think the players will forget what getting beat by Florida tastes like.
Mississippi State this week. I mean, they've got their own set of issues. I mean, their roster's already shortened as far as scholarship players. They were postponed last week as well with the virus issues, but they've had a lot of people that have left the program after Mike Leach was hired. Guys in the transfer portal, guys opting out, guys leaving the team. I mean, I've never seen anything like the numbers at Mississippi State. And this is a team also that throws the football about 95% of the time. You look at their rushing numbers. I mean, they average about 30 yards a game on the ground. I mean, those are numbers I've never even seen that in an SEC from SEC team. What's your take on this Mississippi State squad?
Well, listen, it's first they've been through such turmoil, and it is a different year. And this team, Mississippi State, probably epitomizes the challenges of this year, maybe more than any others. But as you bring Coach Leach in, you know what he wants to do, and it is a unique style of football. They are going to throw it all over the place, and they really don't care what you think. That's who they want to be, and they're going to continue to go do that. They had some success, obviously, against LSU, but defenses in the SEC, they're going to pick up on that pretty quick and put schemes in to slow you down. And Mississippi State has struggled, no question, getting the full implementation of Coach Leach's offense into gear. I think it's going to be a struggle for them against Georgia's defense that all of a sudden had their pride hurt a little bit against Florida with the way that we were chewed up against that Florida Gator offense. This team has got Georgia's defensive unit. It's got a tremendous amount of pride. We're tremendously talented. I expect a very, very strong performance against a Mississippi State team that is still trying to find their footing under a new offense as well that's depleted because of all the departures that you just mentioned.
Yeah, you know, that first week, the big upset of LSU, everybody jumped on that bandwagon. Mike Leach even took a picture on a bandwagon. And as we see, those wheels turned out to be square, not round, and they're not going anywhere since then. I think everybody was thinking, well, you can do this in the SEC now. And Scott and Eric, y'all have seen it enough. It's great to have a passing game. You have to have a passing game to win the SEC. We're learning that now, but it has to be balanced. It has to have some running game. Scott, you were dead on 30 yards. I mean, you look at the transformation from this team from their first game up until the Bama loss. They get shut out. Bama keeps them to a low 60 plays, I think. And Bama controlled the game by the clock and keeping those plays count higher than you're letting a Mississippi State team do that. So the defense is at the utmost importance this week, but our offense needs to really be able to control that clock and keep these guys off the field, because if they get hot, all it takes is one pass and they're in the end zone. So they go for it, but I don't think that they're going to be able to do it for 60 minutes against Georgia. You might see some big plays in the beginning, but I think our team will settle down and pretty much control the game. But anytime you have a team that likes to throw it 95%, you got to put pressure on them. You just can't let them sit back there and play 7-on-7.
Apples and oranges here. Last question for you guys. Florida to Mississippi State. There's probably not a fair comparison, certainly with Trask and the season he's having, and then Mississippi State's different quarterbacks with Costello and then injury against Alabama. Now they've got a freshman in there in Will Rogers, but we saw Georgia have some problems in one-on-one coverage against Florida. We saw Georgia have some problems covering routes out of the backfield. Expectations for our guys against a team that passes as much as Mississippi State does this week. What are your thoughts on our ability to recover from that and make sure these routes and these receivers are covered this week?
I think those challenges, Scott, that you just mentioned, I think we've seen those challenges throughout the year. I think they were amplified against Florida. I thought Florida had a very good game plan that they came in against us on. But if there was an Achilles heel going into the football game, it's when we have been in one-on-one coverage and we've had those 50-50 balls. We have lost way too many of those battles this year. Florida, again, put that on steroids a little bit and threw a couple of different looks, a lot of wheel routes by running backs out of the backfield, tight ends on delayed wheel routes, just finding ways to get into advantageous one-on-one situations. And we were a little bit lost. This is not the same kind of offense that Florida has, for sure, in Mississippi State. But there's no question they're going to go implement some of those schemes that we've struggled with. Again, not just against Florida, but I think throughout the year. I think Georgia will implement, probably a little bit more zone than going man-to-man against this wide open offense. You don't have a running game to worry about. So you can throw different zone coverages into this game plan and feel pretty comfortable that you're going to be successful. I think if you go back to the Alabama game and how Alabama struggled against an Ole Miss offense, then the great improvement that Alabama defense has had throughout the season from that game, I think you'll start to see that transformation with this Georgia team. We're just too talented. Yeah, we got exposed a little bit. We had some injuries in that Florida game. But when you are as talented as we are defensively and you get really your pride hurt and damaged in a game like we had against Florida, you're going to respond. This Georgia defense will respond. I expect to see a unit that looks tremendously different, that plays probably its best football game of the year and then gets better throughout the year. We're just too talented to have that kind of performance and not respond to it.
I tell you what, guys, if Georgia doesn't see that running back come out of the backfield out in the flats, the OCs from Mississippi State should be fired. And I do agree with Eric. They're going to play at a much higher level. They're too good of a team. Guys have got experience. And, sometimes all it takes is one game to open up your eyes and make you comfortable out there on the field. I expect to see a pretty confident, well-oiled Georgia team this weekend.
Eric and Kevin, always great to see you guys when we do this every week, and we'll see you on Saturday in Athens. It'll be great to see you then. Thanks for your time. We hope to see you on the radio on Saturday. We're on the air at 3:30 with our broadcast coverage, starting with Kevin and Jeff and the Dog Talk pregame show, the tailgate show at 4:30, and then game time officially now 7:39. So under the lights. And get ready for a long one. Mississippi State's going to throw the ball a lot. This might be a long football game on Saturday night, but we're glad to have it and hope to see you there. So Georgia and Mississippi State coming up this week. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.